people. I know it's kind of late. I'm gonna do a little late night live stream. Gonna be a little hello people. Sorry for the echo. Anyway, just thought I'd do a live stream. It's been a little while since I did one. I want to do at least a couple every month. So what are you guys up to? let me announce the stream on social media here. Can y'all hear me well and see me well? I love that now that they've added notification squad. Now that they added the notifications, how like people just instantly come to the stream. I used to have to wait like an hour before people realized that I was streaming, so it's pretty dope that you could do that now. But as usual, I don't really have anything specific that I want to talk about. Just kind of a hangout. When I stream, it's usually just a hangout stream and interacting with the chat, answering questions and things like that. Let me put this, make this Facebook post. I know it's late pretty much for everybody except like people who live in like Australia and stuff, but you know, there are people here, so obviously it's not too late for everyone. What's up, guys? And non-guys. It's 9 here, midday. It's perfect. It's about 11 p.m. here, which, depending on, you know, where you are in life, that's not too late. But it is Tuesday, so like if you work in the morning, it may be kind of late. It's also summertime, and a lot of people are done with school right now, so a lot of people may not have to get up early. But it's all good. How long does it take to make, on average, does it take to make a T1J video? It actually like varies pretty widely. I mean, I guess, you know, the average video, I guess there's sort of an average, but it kind of just depends on, A, if the video requires a lot of research, and B, if the video has a lot of editing to do on it, and that varies. A video that requires a lot of research, and these are usually videos where I talk about like studies, or if I just really want to make sure I got my ideas straight, like you know, if I do a video about like the wage gap or something, like those videos that I did about the wage gap took like, you know, weeks to research. Maybe not weeks, but at least a week. But a video that doesn't really need that much research, like maybe I'll research for just a couple hours, and then I'll write a script, which usually takes a couple hours. Sometimes writing the script can take a super long time, just because sometimes just the right words don't come to me, or I feel like it's not really well organized. So sometimes it can take a long time to write a script. Sometimes I even have to put it down and come back to it the next day. But if I'm just on it, you know, the script writing will take like a couple hours. And then filming is the shortest part. It's interesting because filming is the shortest part, but it's also probably my least favorite part, which you probably wouldn't think, because that's the part that you see is the part where I'm in front of the camera. But I really like writing and editing way more than I like actually performing in front of the camera. Not that I don't like it, but I just think compared to the other parts of it, it's my least favorite. But it's the shortest part. It usually takes around 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on how long the video is. And then editing usually takes a couple hours. But like I said, if there are ambitious edits, like if I want to do like cool effects, or if I have a lot of things to add to the video, then the editing can take many hours. Electric Low Main, thank you for the super chat. Once again, coming in with that super chat. As always, I appreciate it. $11 p.m. for you too. Central Time Zone, represent. You'll be my ASMR while I fall asleep. Okay. Actually, if I do seem a little bit low energy, it is just because it's late and there are other people in this house currently. I'm not sure if they're asleep yet, but they will be soon. Do you have any editing tips to make things go faster? Definitely keyboard shortcuts. If you don't use those, definitely want to find all of the relevant keyboard shortcuts. That makes editing go by a lot faster. Using templates, like making sort of templates, like if you're like me and you make similar videos over and over again, then you kind of can make a template. So like, for example, in my videos, every video is gonna have the intro, every video is gonna have the outro, every video is gonna have a certain sound effect, every video is gonna have certain images. So I just go ahead and I have like a template file where all that stuff is just ready to go, and I could just move it where it needs to go. So stuff like that. What are the cheesiest features you can use in iMovie and or Final Cut? Well, I use a PC, so I don't know anything about iMovie or Final Cut. Res, please, what's up? Mad X Stitcher, what's up? Specifically, I have a really good question. Specifically, your rebound video was such a big help. After you let someone go, why do people rebound? Come back, ask for closure when you made it clear why. I don't know. I think some people will never be really satisfied, because even if you give them a reason, to them it wasn't a justifiable reason, and there's probably no reason that you can give that would satisfy them. So it's one of those things where they have to have closure for themselves. They have to find the closure themselves, because you can't really give it to them. I like recording them. I don't edit them, but if I ever do, I feel like wouldn't like the edit aspect. Yeah, I think just depends what kind of person you are, because editing is really tedious, and I can see why someone wouldn't like it, but I enjoy it because it's kind of the most creative aspect. It's where you actually are putting things together to make the thing. It's like the thing is actually being made. It's no longer being conceptualized. It's no longer being prepared for. It's actually being made. You have all of the tools and you're making it, and I think that's why I like it. Do you game? If yes, what's your favorite game? My favorite game of all time? I mean, I consider myself a gamer, but I don't really play video games as much as I used to, which is kind of sad to me. I like competitive games, but like I just started playing League of Legends again, which is probably a bad idea because the game is very frustrating and it takes a lot of your life. I used to play a lot of Smash Brothers. Like I used to play Smash Brothers competitively. I just got Breath of the Wild, the new Zelda game, and it's amazing. One of the greatest games ever made, in my opinion. I'm calling it already. You can take a video from okay to good with editing. Yeah, you can. That's definitely true. What's up, Mezzo Coco? What do you prefer, dogs or cats? Definitely dogs. I'm actually not much of an animal person in general, though, which many of my peers find disappointing. But if I have to choose, definitely dogs, no question. My mom has a cute little puppy that I like to hang out with. Cats are generally pretty annoying to me. Hey Kevin, I hear you're a fellow Funhouse fan. I am a Funhouse fan. Those dudes are hilarious. Dudes and girl. There's just one girl, right? Yeah. It's really, really funny. Amazing. I didn't meet them, but I got to see them at VidCon last year. It was really cool. How come I haven't done one of these in a while? Well, I did one not too long ago, maybe a few weeks ago. But I don't know. I'm like sort of hesitant with live streams because I feel like doing too many live streams is annoying, especially on a channel where people expect to see like the normal video essays. So I think if people come to the channel to see the normal videos and they just see live streams all the time, that might piss them off. But I want to be more consistent with live streaming because it's fun to do, and some people at least enjoy them. I don't know if like I was thinking doing one a week, but I feel like that might be too much. So maybe like twice a month. Or maybe once a month. I don't know. We'll see. I find dogs annoying because they require too much energy. Yeah, I'm not sure if I could deal with owning a dog myself. I like other people's dogs, but I don't have to like deal with them, all day. So maybe if I did, I'd have a different opinion. I've heard nothing good about League. Well, I mean, it's an amazing game. It's just it has a really shit community for one. That's like the biggest problem. Is just it has a community of insufferable little brats, and it's also just the nature of the game. It's like a 5-on-5 battle arena game. So it's one of those games where you can very easily blame your team anytime anything goes wrong. And so when you have like 10 people all doing that, it's just chaotic. But in terms of just game design, I think it's a brilliant game. It's like brilliantly deep, strong competitive aspect, cool lore, super cool characters. Like it's a really good game. It's just actually playing it can be very frustrating. I'm not sure if I heard your opinion about the whole is debate beneficial question that's been going on YouTube lately. Have you said? I don't think so. I don't think I've said anything publicly. I've talked to some people about it. If all goes as planned, my next video is actually going to touch on that. Not on that specifically, but sort of something tangentially related. I'll leave it as a surprise as to what the video is going to be about. But in terms of debate, and it's funny because I actually just watched the ContraPoints discussion with PhilosophyTube that talking about that very topic. And I don't know about it. It's hard to say. For one thing, I know that debates with certain people are not beneficial in my opinion, or at least they don't provide more benefit than they provide detriment. Because I think that some people's ideas are just, for one, some people's ideas are just like not worth the time of debating. Like for example, I just use an obvious example, but like for example, like a flat earther. I think it's a waste of time to debate a flat earther. It's just not, it's just the idea that we don't need to waste our energy debating. Like that's kind of settled. So there's ideas like that, and obviously there are more relevant ideas. But then there are also people who, it's very clear that they have no intention of debating with you in good faith. Like they just have no intention of doing that. And I don't know why you would like debate someone that you know that about. Like why would you? And that's the thing that's sort of been confusing me about all these debates lately that people have been having with people that you just know have no intention of intellectual honesty. To me that just seems just like a bad idea. I don't know. But at the same time, anytime these things happen, like an example of that I would say is ContraPoints debating Blair White. And I've talked, I don't have to hide it. I've talked about this on Twitter all the time, how much of a wacky person I think Blair White is. But thinking about that, I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, I watched your debate, saying to ContraPoints, I watched your debate with Blair White. And I found myself agreeing with you and being swayed by you. So, maybe there's a little bit of benefit there. But I still don't know, weighing it out, is that overall better? Is that more benefit than negative? I don't know. Lex Noir, thanks for the super chat. By the way, do you read books? If so, what would you recommend? I honestly should read more. What I like to read is like nonfiction, not self-help books, but like books that like that I don't know, I guess they are self-help books. But I hesitate to say that because self-help books can often be like really hokey and bullshitty. But like, for example, recently I've been reading a lot of money management books because that's something that I need help with in my life. And I've actually been reading like ebooks about like business, like online business and stuff like that. But the most recent book that I've read on that subject is this book called I Will Teach You How to Be Rich. I think that's what it's called. And I know that's kind of a lame title, but it's actually pretty decent stuff in the book. It's by Ramit Sethi, I think his name is. I'm probably saying it wrong. But I should read more. Like, I don't read as much as I should, to be honest. I should read more fiction. I read like no fiction ever. I need to eventually I need to get some suggestions on some good fiction to read because I don't ever read fiction. But I want to. I like fiction. Oh, what's up, Shoe on Head? Debate me in the ring 1v1. See, that's also one of the problems with the whole debate thing because it's like framed as this like showdown and like let's see who's gonna pwn the other guy, like, and it's like a spectacle. It's not like a discussion where people are trying to find some sort of common ground or figure out what the other person is thinking. It's just like who's gonna win. But like I said, there may be like hidden benefits that we don't think about. And people get messages all the time about how like, you've changed my mind on something, or you've made me think about this in a different way. And those people may not always be vocal about how you've helped them. So I don't know. It's hard to measure. Have you cracked the YouTube algorithm yet? Not really. I don't think anyone has. But there's some things that we know about it for sure, and there's just some things that if you just can't do it, you can't do it. Like the YouTube algorithm likes it if you make a lot of videos, like preferably daily videos. But I'm not gonna make daily videos. I'm just not gonna do it. So that in and of itself hurts me in the algorithm. But you try to make do with what you got. And a lot of it is not necessarily the algorithm. It's just making videos that people want to click on and watch. Because if you do that, then the algorithm will take care of the rest. So that's just like making, like for example, having a good title. Like literally having a good title is like fucking maybe like 75% of what makes YouTubers succeed. It's just getting people to click on the video. So like titles and thumbnails, and then there's other stuff, that you look into. But I've started to like look into this kind of thing a whole lot, and it's complicated, but it's also not that complicated. Really, all it is find a way to get people to click on your videos, and then find a way to get them to watch the video. And if you can get most of the people who see your video to do that, then YouTube's algorithm will then suggest it to more people, and so on. I've never read A Clockwork Orange, but I've seen the movie, and the movie it kind of makes me nauseous. It's just a really disturbing movie. I think changing the audience's mind is the point. A lot of Blair fans subscribe to Contract to that scary debate. Yeah. It's just, I just don't know if all of the drama is worth, a few new subscribers and a couple of changed minds. But maybe it is. I don't know. I guess if the people involved, can handle it. Because some people, like, I have no intention to ever participate in a debate, in a live debate. For one, I don't think I would be good at it. And for two, it's just like, that's just stressful. Especially if I'm dealing with someone that I think is crazy. I don't think I could deal with that. But, some people can. And, if we can find people like that can make persuasive arguments, then maybe it's worth it. But the only way that we'll figure that out is by trying it, I guess. But that also, ambiguously fucked up what you're saying. Like, that's also a problem with it too, because I remember watching the ContraPoints and Blair White debate, and if you can't tell, I obviously agree with ContraPoints more, if not entirely, than Blair White. But I found myself thinking that Blair White was winning the debate, but it's just because was being more passionate and being more quick-witted and responding to everything that Contra was saying, like and it's not necessarily that she was making better arguments. It's just that she was good at this kind of conversation. I think that is part of the problem with live debates, is even if you are good at, or even if you do have good ideas, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be a persuasive debater. Sorry if I'm missing a lot of questions. I'm like kind of being long-winded as the chat goes by. If you ask a question, you can try asking, and I miss it, you can try asking it again if you want. Sometimes people ask a question and then like 3 minutes later it's like, why are you ignoring me? It's like, well, calm down. It's okay. Oh, what's up, ranting feminists? Yeah, I don't. And apparently Contra still intends to do more debates. So maybe he'll get better at it or get more comfortable with it. I don't know. I am open to book suggestions, but I probably won't remember if you just drop them right now. You might want to tweet them at me or email them to me. What position have you radically changed your opinion on? Like in my whole life? I used to believe in God, and I don't believe in God anymore. I guess that's a pretty radical change. And that's how everyone talks about like Destiny, how Destiny's known for debating people, and people say he's like really good at debating. It's the same thing. He's passionate and he's quick-witted, and those types of things are important. A lot of the time, it's not even that the arguments are good. It's just that you present them in a more compelling way. But I would be bad at debate because I'm not great at just on the spot thinking of stuff. As you can probably tell, I like stutter and stammer and fucking say all the time. I would be terrible at a live debate. Doesn't mean I'm dumb or I don't have good ideas. I mean, maybe I have bad ideas, but that is not what determines that. Who's Destiny? Destiny he's primarily known for streaming video games, but over the years he's gotten involved in a lot of political debates. Recently he kind of became well known because he debated JonTron about JonTron's weird stuff that he started saying not too long ago. He's actually got a couple of not debates but discussions with ContraPoints where they're not really even that. They're just kind of them just circle jerking for 2 hours, but they're still interesting because I like both of those guys. You don't know JonTron? Well, JonTron is just a really popular gaming YouTube channel who recently started saying a bunch of weird stuff that was very close to making him sound like a white nationalist, and everyone was kind of taken aback by it. It's like, what are you talking about, JonTron? And so for a while he was like debating people and stuff, but I think he sort of stepped back from all that. I think the big thing surrounding that was when he debated Destiny. But I guess you can just look it up if you want to know more about it. It's kind of blown over by now, but I think Destiny got a lot of exposure from that. And he's a really smart guy, but his main gig is just playing video games on Twitch and stuff. But he gets involved in politics and stuff every now and then. I was actually a huge fan of JonTron's channel back in the day. Like I think he's like one of the funniest dudes, one of the funniest gaming channels. Then he just started saying a bunch of weird shit. Well, first he just kind of like he started making like 2 videos a year, and I was like, okay, dude. And then he just started saying all this weird. Like at first I thought it was just like, okay, here's just another guy that doesn't like what he thinks social justice warriors are. It's like, that's annoying, but I can deal with that. But then he just started going full on white nationalist talking points, and I was like, okay, bro, I think I'm out. I think I'm let's see what we got here. How do you heal after a heartbreak? You know what? I think literally the only thing that heals the heartbreak is time. You just gotta give it time. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes years. was extra weird because he's half Iranian. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing was weird. It was just out of nowhere. It's like, okay, what is this guy talking about? Because I always perceived him as a pretty nice guy. Maybe he is a nice guy. He just was talking out his ass. But I don't know. I always liked his videos. Yeah, he did. He got all professional. I kind of like that though. I don't mind it. I do know what you mean though. It's that's something that I struggle with because I want my videos to look well made, and to some extent I want them to look, not professional, but I want them to look like someone who knows what they're doing made them. But I also don't want them to look like overproduced and fake. And I kind of struggle with finding that balance because I don't want to. I used to call my videos vlogs, but I don't call them vlogs anymore because that sort of has an unprofessional tone to it now. Like, I don't know. I think sometimes I say video essays, but that sounds pretentious. But I guess that's what they are. But yeah, finding that middle balance is kind of a struggle. The best parts of his videos was his bird, yeah. Jacques the parrot. What do you think of the future of the anti-feminists like yourself, H-Bomber Contra? Do you think more like-minded YouTubers will start up and match the following of the anti-feminists? Wait, what? I don't know if I read that. I don't know if that was, maybe there's a typo in there. Are you saying that are there going to be more people like us? I feel like there's all these, sort of as an aside, there's like all these terms that people get referred to that I don't think any of us actually use to describe ourselves. But anyway, I think it's probably accurate to describe me as an anti-feminist though, so whatever. It's just a kind of a mouthful. I don't think it's gonna stick. Actually, it probably already has stuck. But I don't know. I think that I don't even know what to say about that. Like, I just make videos about stuff that I think is interesting and that I have opinions on. Like, I don't even think about it as some kind of, like, I don't believe in the culture war. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm just trying to share my views and start conversations. Like, I don't think about it as, trying to oppose a specific group of people. I'm just saying stuff. I don't know. I think that people say anti-feminist because a lot of people who are in that group don't identify as feminists. Like, I don't identify as a feminist. And I know, like, certain people, like Tim Blake doesn't identify as a feminist. And then some other people who just don't necessarily disagree with the overall sentiment, but they just don't like the community. And there's people like that, like, what's her name? Willie Bumblebee. Like, I don't think that person is a feminist, but I would say that at this point, at least for now, she's an anti-feminist. That's just a mouthful. What's up, Cat Black? But yeah, it's funny, like, people who are feminists, I don't know, people just, labels are problematic, I guess. I think that labels can be useful, but it just seems like we just use them wrong. Like, someone made a video about me recently where I think the title was something like "Male Feminist does this or whatever. It's like, I don't even call myself a feminist. So it's like, what do you just kind of make assumptions based on whatever. But the thing is, like, I like at least referring to people who agree with me as progressives, but I don't even know if people who agree with me like that term either. I think I've talked to some people, like Tom Avella doesn't like being called a progressive, I think. And then so because of that, I was trying to say anti-progressives as people on the other side, but that's also kind of a mouthful, and I don't know if people identify with that. And then there's, a lot of people just say reactionaries, but I'm sure that most of those people would object to being called reactionary. So, what do you do? I think it would be useful if there was a agreed upon term for both ends, but maybe that's a false dichotomy to begin with. I mean, it probably is. Because a lot of people who would say are on my side, I have like disagreements on, like, pretty strong disagreements on certain things. And then there are people on the other side where I have agreements on certain things. Who was sending me messages at midnight? I think a lot of people who are on the feminist side have many criticisms of feminists. They just don't want to spend all day yammering about it because either we don't think it's as big of a deal as some other people do, or B, we don't want to be perceived as lending credence to people we think are crazy and or abusive and or like wrong. So that, I think that's like one of the things that's going on here. I think there are very few people, especially like YouTubers, that are just like this SJW, like social justice, drone that people accuse us of being. Like, nobody is that, really. I mean, maybe some people are, but I feel like most people are less or more complicated than that in their ideas. Male feminist is sort of weird to me because, like, aren't antis the ones saying shit shouldn't be about gender? I think that they say male feminist is sort of an insult. Like, it's supposed to be derogatory. It's like kind of like calling you a cuck. It's like, oh, male feminist. It like automatically adds a negative tone to your video. I'm a feminist who criticizes feminism, but don't see performing that criticism as very productive, to be honest, especially as these discourses are so intense. Right, yeah, exactly. Funny, apparently Jenny McDermott is in our circle, according to Kraut and T. Well, both of those people are crazy. I should probably stop calling people crazy. I did a video about this, actually. It's a bad habit I have, but I don't like calling people crazy. I think that's a little too dismissive, but it's such a good word. I actually don't know that much about Jenny McDermott, but I've seen like some of her videos and seen her talk about certain things, and she's just like kind of out of control, it seems. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't really seen anything recently, but all right, Maddox Stitcher, thanks for visiting the stream. No, I'm like unironically afraid of Kraut and T. Like, I'm scared of that guy. I feel like we're seeing a lot of meltdowns in the political community, particularly on the anti-feminist side, but just in general, people are just like, I think it's just too intense. There's too much emotions being thrown around, and the people that are the more fragile are just not being able to take it. It's kind of sad and scary. And it's like it's hard to, like, I have to remind myself that the world is not YouTube and Twitter, because it gets depressing sometimes. It's like, what is going on right now? But then I have to, like, go outside, and it's like, oh, okay, some people are actually just, or most people are actually just living life. It's not, everyone isn't yelling at each other in real life. Why am I scared of Kraut? He just seems kind of deranged sometimes. Like, he seems, I know some of this stuff is frustrating, but he seems like too mad. He seems like he's mad enough to hurt somebody about it. Especially if we're talking about, like, when it comes to Muslims, I think he's just purely, openly a bigot. Like, I feel like if you look at the evidence, there's no question that is accurate. And I think that, like, if given the right circumstances, he might actually hurt somebody about that. I'm just in this. I don't know the guy, so I'm not gonna pretend. That could be I could not have enough information to make that call. But I'm just saying, based on the way that he talks, it's just, I think it's a little bit over the top, especially when compared to other people. Like, I saw I don't know, I just feel like he's too mad. I don't know, I could be exaggerating, but like I said, I think that a lot of people in this whole conversation are just kind of losing their grip, and it's just, I feel like it's getting out of hand. Yeah, I don't. I like the attempt to change the subject of the conversation to ice cream. I like ice cream, though. It's all about that cookies and cream dough. Electric Low Main, thanks for coming to the stream. As always, thanks for the super chat. It's honestly like amusing to me that people still use SJW unironically. Like, it's crazy that we're not past that. What do you think Kraut's favorite flavor of ice cream is? I was actually just looking up a smoothie recipe, or is it a smoothie? A shake, not a smoothie. A shake. I was gonna make some milkshakes. And I think that's why when you talk about debates and discussions, that's one of the arguments in favor of it, because I think if you talk to someone in person, not even like a live debate, just like having a typed out conversation sometimes allows you to understand that, oh, this person is a human being with nuanced beliefs and isn't the straw man that I think they are, you know? And I think that's one of the arguments in favor of that whole thing. But I guess the problem is when you have when you're coming from a place of lacking a good faith attempt at understanding someone, it's hard to even get to that point. Can one get too over PB&J sandwiches? I don't think so. I love PB&J. But I've had so many conversations, even just like Twitter conversations, which are like the worst type. It's like the worst platform to have a debate on, but yet I do it all the time. But I've had many Twitter conversations where at the end, even if it was like intense, like debate, at the end of it, it'll be like, you know, I understand your position a little better. I still don't agree with you, but I kind of get what you're saying. You know, it's not the absolute most uncharitable opinion that I initially assumed. You know, and you know it could go that goes both ways. I'm not just saying the other person. So I don't know. I think, and that's another thing that people have talked about is discussions versus debates, because they're definitely two different things. And but I think you can still have. I think there's pros and cons of each. I think in general I would prefer discussions. Like we were talking about Blair White earlier. I think Contra had a debate with Blair White, while Lacey Green had a discussion with Blair White, and I don't know if the difference between those is why one of those was much harder to watch than the other. But the thing about debates is, with debates, you're sort of assumed to have done preparation and to have your thoughts more organized. And I think that probably can lead to better discussions, maybe. And I think that's sort of the benefit of a more formal debate. But like everyone's saying, like you're saying, Cap, like debates are very performative, which is part of the problem, because you know the person that's better at performing often is perceived to have won the debate. Why does the janitor look like an adorable baby? I can't be the only one who sees this. A baby. I guess I do have a youthful face. I don't know if I do. What's your real first name? My name is Kevin. Are you still a janitor? I never was a janitor. I'm still the one janitor. I think during a debate, most people are trying to win rather than understand or listen to another person. Yeah. And I think that all that depends on having the participants of said debate come in good faith. And that, I think that's what we're lacking most of the time. As like, for example, in the Destiny debate with JonTron, that was definitely a debate, but I think that Destiny came in, and maybe even JonTron, I don't know, I have to go back and listen again, but I think that he came in actually trying to understand JonTron's position. He didn't come in trying to like pwn him or anything like that. But I think we just need people to do that, and we probably need to avoid people that we are pretty sure are not going to do that. Yeah, like the discussion that you did with Armored Skeptic and Garrett and who else was it? Someone else. Like that was pretty chill for the most part, and that was like fun to watch. I mean, granted, I think that the political divide between you guys is smaller than the political divide between other people who have had debates, but I feel like stuff like that is cool. A key part of a debate I see in a lot of online debates is missing is a moderator. That's a pretty crucial part, I think. Yeah. I think there's a point where it gets too formal though, and I think that's where that could also be a problem. Because then it becomes less of a debate and then just like a series of monologues, which, you know, isn't really going to get you anywhere. Everyone who screams when I talk to the other side is unsubscribed already. Nothing of value has been lost. Yeah. I mean, it's when you're involved in politics and stuff, people will unsubscribe to you for random reasons, so you can't even pay attention to that anymore. I find myself being nervous to talk to the other side, and I kind of hate that about myself, but I don't want to disappoint anyone, and I worry that I would disappoint them. You would disappoint them? How? In what way would you disappoint them? Like, I had people unsubscribe to me because I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. You know, I had people unsubscribe to me for the most random reasons. All right, Kat, thanks for stopping by. Not sure how long I'm gonna stream. Has it already been an hour? Damn. Oh, you would disappoint your own side. I thought you were saying you would disappoint them, the people you were talking to. Yeah, the Lacey Green thing is weird. I think the problem is that a lot of these people are just like bullies, like legit bullies. And I think that if Lacey Green showed a little bit of discretion in terms of who she actually wanted to talk to, she probably would have gotten more. She probably would have gotten less pushback. But you know, the first person she talked to was Blair White, who's like, who I would describe as a bully. I don't know if you guys disagree with that. I don't think that Blair White is a good faith person that's gonna have a discussion. And so I think that's why a lot of people are like, okay, Lacey, what are you doing? And then, you know, I don't want to speak for anybody. I think everyone has their own reaction and own reasoning. I'm actually interested to see what comes of Lacey's foray into the anti-feminist YouTube community. I have doubts that it'll be fruitful. But I don't. I kind of stopped paying much attention to that side of YouTube. A few months ago, because it's really, in my opinion, it's hard to find anything of value in that community. I think it's mostly just a bunch of people trying to get views and trying to pwn people and trying to be funny and just trying to make a show and trying to make a buck on YouTube, which is like, do what you do for money and do what you do for views. But my thing around this subject is I'm trying to have some conversations. I do this for money too, so I'm not begrudging people who do it for money, but I'm saying I think people sacrifice intellectual honesty and being fair and being civil for entertainment or whatever. And I'm not interested in that, really, to be honest. So I haven't really kept up with all that stuff. And then there's more than a few people who I think are just literally, like, I don't even understand how their channels are still up, because they just literally just harass people. And I don't think that's all or most of them, but there are some like that are, sort of mainstays. Well, there are people that would say that Jeff Holiday and Chris are assholes. So I think that's why a lot of people are pushing back, because everyone sort of has personal experiences with these people, and you can be like, oh, you're cozying up to this guy that was like a huge asshole to me, so obviously I don't support that. That guy T is here. What's up? Yeah, this Yvette, a lot of people don't realize that Lazy Green has kind of gone back and forth being hated by like the social justice people and being hated by the anti-social justice people. Like, she just kind of she's just not doing something right, because she can't avoid just pissing off everybody. But my interpretation of what Lacey is doing is she's just trying to find a solution, because Lacey has been she's been one of the biggest targets of hate and abuse and misrepresentation and just everything that all of us complain about. And I guess she feels like she has one of the biggest platforms, and so I guess she feels like she has the responsibility to try to find a solution. I don't know if what she's doing is going to be the solution, and in fact I don't think it is the solution, but I think that she's just trying something, and we'll see how that goes. I'm actually very interested to see what happens. Like, a lot of people think that they're red pilling her and they're gonna like turn her over to their side, which seems unlikely, but you never know. That would be incredibly disappointing if that happened. But I don't think that's going to happen. But a lot of times she seems like you get close to entertaining when you're entertaining nonsense. It kind of like legitimizes nonsense, and a lot of things that people say are nonsense. Like if you say, like, for example, like if you say like gender and sex are the same thing, it's like, okay, it's not. Like we're like past that. We already know that that's not true. But when you like say, well, can you like help me understand why you think that gender and sex are the same thing? You're like kind of legitimizing a stupid opinion. Like it kind of is. I don't know if that's the way that you go about certain things. Now, there may be some opinions that are worth exploring, and maybe she'll find those. But there's some that may not fit. You know, that it could be dangerous. Not dangerous, but it could be like detrimental to go down that right. What's one of your favorite discussions you've had on YouTube? I don't know. I don't really have too many public discussions. It's not really. I mean, not like formal discussions. I mean, I have a lot of discussions, like on Twitter and comments and stuff. But I don't know if I could pick a favorite because I have these discussions like every day. But I don't really have like formal like live discussions with an audience or anything like that. I don't do too many like hangouts or anything. It's just not really what I'm into. Oh, ranting left. Well, if you're still here, thanks for coming through. I missed a lot of comments because I've been long-winded. I'm like I'm trying to find the middle of a conversation, but I think I just missed it. So whatever. A lot of people do hear gender and sex as the same thing. I think that if people actually took the time to explain the difference, people would actually get what they're talking about. See, but this is the thing. When do we get to stop explaining basic stuff to people? Like never? You just have to do it forever? Like to me, that's saying like, yeah, a lot of people think the earth is flat, but if you actually took the time to explain why the earth isn't flat, they would actually get what you're talking about. It's like, no. At some point we have to stop explaining basic stuff to people. We have to use our time and energy for better things at some point. It takes literally 10 seconds to learn the difference between sex and gender. See, most of the time it's not really that they don't understand, it's that they don't intend to understand. They have no intention of being challenged, or no amount of evidence or research is going to change their mind. I think that's probably the case most of the time. I mean, and this is something that has been really stressful to me as I've become more involved in this conversation, is that like actual proof does not convince people. Like you could have an actual study or an actual data or a scientific consensus, a report that literally pretty clearly shows that this is a thing, and people still won't believe that this is a thing. And that's like, it's really crazy to me that happens. But that's like the backfire effect. But it's just crazy to me. Like and I'm not saying I'm immune to that, but it's just hard to imagine when you see something, when it's like literally in front of your face and you're like, nope. It's like, really, dude? That's the thing too, is a lot of this stuff has is I mean, it's out there. People are explaining these things. But I don't know. My strategy, my personal strategy is I don't explain basic stuff to people. A lot of people gave me shit when I said, shut up and, what I say? Let the smart people talk? I can't remember what I said. But like, I'm not gonna explain basic stuff to you that's like demonstrably true. Like, I'm not doing that. Someone else might do it. I'm not doing it. I feel like I want to use my time on something else. But there are people out there that do it. So you can find them if you really need someone to explain to you like that racism is real. Okay. There are people that will break that down for you, but my videos are work on the presumption that you believe that racism is real. So I'm not gonna make a video called "Is racism real?" ? I'm not gonna make that video. It's a waste of my time. That's not what I'm here for. Someone else will do it. I think it's valid to point people to where they can learn info, but I honestly don't mind trying my best to explain things to people who have the time and resources. No, and I do too. And to be honest, even despite what I just said, if I perceive that someone is honestly asking a question, I'll probably answer it. If they're being honest and being civil, even if it's a basic question, I'll probably answer it. The problem is people aren't usually being honest and being civil when they ask these questions. Like 98% of the time they're not. They're asking like snarky questions about stuff and trying to like gotcha me with these like double speak questions, and I don't have time for that. But honestly, like I'll probably answer the question if you have it. But if you're like convinced of something that is demonstrably false, and you're trying to like demand that I provide evidence for it, I'm not gonna do that. I think racism will truly die when we can elect a black George W. Bush or Donald Trump as president. So a total dumbass. Well, we've had some dumb black front runners. Ben Carson got pretty close, and that guy is out of control. I guess he's not dumb, but his mind is on another planet. What's up, guys? Do we got a anti-SJW gathering tonight? I don't know. We have several YouTubers, content creators in the stream today or tonight. Herman Cain did quote Pokemon. That was hilarious. It seems some people just believe that racism vanished by the end of the civil rights movement, as if everyone who grew up on the opposition just suddenly don't exist anymore. Yeah. I don't know, the thing about it is, it's provable. It's not like, it's not like anecdotes. It's not like, I kind of feel that people are racist to me. It's like, it's literally demonstrable with data. Courtney Haynes, thanks for the super chat. Ben Carson has compartmentalized stupidity. How do you decide when someone is genuine versus not worth talking to? It's, for me, it's pretty easy. A, if they're being an asshole, they're probably not worth talking to. And B, if they deny, like, demonstrable facts, or if they constantly move the goalposts, then that's how I know they're probably not arguing in good faith. But for me, like the biggest thing is civility. Like a lot of progressives actually criticize, and actually that was sort of what I was getting at in my last video about tone policing, because a lot of progressives criticize the call for civility because it's like, it kind of sounds like a tone argument, but that's the biggest thing for me. Like, maybe it's just because I'm old, but I just don't want to have conversations with like douchebags on the internet. I don't have time for that, dude. Like, I have so much better things I can be doing than just yelling to some kid on the internet back and forth and just insulting me and stuff. So, like, honestly, like, basic civility will get you a long way, at least with me. Even if you're just saying the dumbest shit ever, if you're civil, I probably will talk to you. And I've done it before. Make a video with the anti-SG community. Probably not gonna do that. If there's a topic, I don't know, if there's something that I think is useful to say, then maybe I'll do it. But I pretty much have no intention of doing that. It just invites unnecessary drama because you guys have insane fans that like to troll people. Brandon Everhart's just going in on everybody right now. I don't know what an SJW is. Like, stop using that. Just say what you mean. A few weeks ago, I asked the question, is there such a thing as toxic femininity? I got so many responses from douchebags and smart people alike. Yeah. The problem with a question like that is that it is a lot of times people ask a question and they think that it's like a super clever question, that they're the first one to think of it. But that's like the literal default question that everyone asks when someone talks about toxic masculinity. And I think they sort of assume, and I'm not saying that, I'm not accusing you of this, but I think people sort of assume that they know what your stance is. And I get this a lot personally, is like people assume that they know what my view is. And I think that's kind of part of the whole response video culture, is it's based on assumptions on what someone thinks about something. And so it's like, well, what do you think about this, huh? What about this, huh? So, but the thing is, like, yeah, there's toxic femininity. We just don't call it that. But you realize you're changing the subject. That's not what we're talking about right now. Do you think the anti-SJWs will take over VidCon this year? No? What do you mean take over? What are they going to do? That's the funny thing. Like, people are saying, like, fucking the right has taken over YouTube, or like the anti-feminists are winning on YouTube. But you guys, the thing is, there's no actual culture war. That's the problem that you guys don't understand. It's not actually a thing. If there was, you guys would lose immediately. Like Hank Green is a leftist feminist, but he doesn't participate in this conversation. If he wanted to, he could shut this whole shit down and he could remove us all from our YouTube channels. Like, the influence that the left has is not even, like, it's on another level. And that's what happens. The world gets more progressive. That's just what happens, and that's what's going to continue to happen. But I don't know exactly what I don't know what you mean by take over VidCon. I know that a lot of people are going to VidCon, but I'm sure that everyone will behave like adults in public, and if you don't, I'm sure that anyone who doesn't will be promptly removed from the venue, you know? I saw a kid with a meninist shirt at my school. What, dude? Just don't get trolled. I think Contra is going to VidCon for the first time this year. I unfortunately cannot go to VidCon. Sadness. But I'll see y'all next year. Honestly, when I was anti-feminist, all it took was for me to watch feminists like Christy Winters, and I realized how much I misunderstood feminism. All it takes is a few chips out the echo chamber. Indeed. Well, will they get panel spread influence? Well, it's hard to imagine because, you have to get panels approved, and it's super unlikely that you would get approved on a panel to spread propaganda for your political ideology. They're going to be there, and I don't think that the YouTube community ever was or was intended to be like a hive mind where everyone had the same ideology. But, you can have whatever political beliefs you want and be fine. But I think the only thing that won't be tolerated is abuse and being an asshole. But if it's not that, then it's fine. But, the point of VidCon isn't to just randomly talk about stuff. The point of VidCon is to talk about being a YouTuber. It's not, you don't go up there and talk about why communism is bad. Like, that's not the point of the panels at VidCon. I think that just if you have any semblance of compassion in your heart, it's really hard to associate yourself with the anti-feminists on YouTube, because the majority of them are just dicks, just overall, just mean-spirited. Regardless of if you agree with their ideology, they're just mean-spirited people. Like most of them are. At least most of them that I've seen. So I feel like even if you agree with their views, I feel like if you have even a little bit, even if you value kindness a little bit, it would be really hard to associate yourself with those people. Because I think that was the main, like, I think a lot of people realize this. I could have ended up on the anti-feminist side, because I had a lot of problems with progressives and feminists and stuff. The main thing that initially turned me away was the vitriol and the meanness and being an asshole, because I am strongly against that. That's like literally the number one thing in life that I oppose, is being an asshole. So I could never be on the side of anyone who does that. But, then from there you see that there's a lot of other nonsense. and then you realize, okay, well, I'm not on this side, because they deny the facts about social injustice in the world and ignored studies and misrepresent data. All right, I'm not gonna do that. But I still, I clash with people that are supposedly on my side all the time. But that's just, every person is unique. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize on both sides, is that everyone is unique. And probably no one fits that straw man that you have in your head that you're supposedly fighting against. It's not a real person. It's just an idea that you've created in your head that no one actually fits. But you don't know that because you haven't taken the time to actually learn individual people's beliefs. Bob Jones, thanks for the super chat. I have trouble with social anxiety. Please help. I love you. So is it like anxiety, debilitating anxiety, like that you might need to see a professional for? Because a lot of times, if it's actually affecting the quality of your life, you might actually need to go see a professional. That's what I did. I started experiencing anxiety actually like pretty late in life. Like when I was 30 is when it really started hitting me hard, when I turned 30. And I actually had to talk to a doctor about it. But if you're just talking about like general social anxiety that everyone has and deals with, it's one of those things where you just sort of have to sort of put yourself in that awkward position. And once you're in there, you kind of realize that it's not that bad. And if you do it a bunch of times, you're like, you know what, this is kind of awkward and it sucks, but I lived, I made it, I survived, and it's not that bad. And just sort of over time, you sort of have to practice it, I guess, is what I'm saying. Just like with anything, you get better as you practice. But you have to sort of develop the willpower to just do it. People really aren't that unique, mate. I disagree. Yeah, like Milo Stewart and Riley Dennis, they've been treated like caricatures. Absolutely. All of these people. It's the straw man, and a lot of this is due to what I think are intentional misrepresentations. But all these people say, and to be honest, like I've been on the anti Anita Sarkeesian train myself, and I've sort of come away from that because I sort of sat back and thought about it. But people call Anita Sarkeesian an extremist, which is hilarious because she is like she is so she's so tame. Nothing, literally nothing she says is even close to extreme. So it's hilarious that they've been able to misrepresent her so hard to where people unironically literally believe that she is a leftist extremist. That's insanity. And it's the same thing for people like Cat Black. Like, people call Cat Black a radical anti-white YouTuber, which is like, have you ever watched Cat Black's videos? Like, she is more moderate than most progressive YouTubers. Like, it's crazy the strawmans that people come up with people. Like, have you ever had a conversation with Cat Black? She is way more moderate than most progressive YouTubers. But it's just, I don't know how this came about, but there's just been sort of these campaigns to just target people and just make no attempt to understand what they're saying. Like, even with the Milo Stewart thing, you can say she made a video that said all white people are racist, or is it he or they? I can't remember what he's going by. Anyway, Milo Stewart made a video saying that all white people are racist. That's the thing that Milo Stewart did. But if you watch the video, like literally watch the video, you understand what they're getting at. They're not saying that everyone is a member of the Klan and hates black people. That's not what Milo's saying. But, you know, people just look at the title and they just base it off that. And now because of that, Milo has to deal with all of this abuse and hatred by making a like kind of good point on a video one time that people refuse to understand. And it just sucks. And that's why I couldn't get down with that community, because they do stuff like that all the time. And it's not just like a couple of people. I think that's like definitive of that community. Do it all the time. Yeah, I was thinking that that Milo, because Milo used to just go by he, I think, but I was thinking that they like switched it up, but I can't remember. But I'll just use they. It's fine. And this is the thing about Anita Sarkeesian. I disagree with her on most things. Well, when it comes to video game criticism, I disagree with like the majority of what she says, but she's not an extremist. She just says like video games have sexism in them, which is true. Like, that's like the crux of that entire trope series, is video games have some sexist things in them. That's not even that's not even remotely controversial. Do you watch TYT? I actually haven't in a long time. I used to watch it a lot. I feel like I feel like TYT is, well, at least Cenk Uygur. There's a lot of people that work for them, but Cenk and Anna Kasparian, like, I feel like they are genuine people, but I feel like they fall into the trap of sort of confirmation bias a lot of the time. And I feel like a lot of the time they're not as skeptical of their own side as they should be. But I think that at the end of the day, they're probably genuine people. I can't speak for any of the other people that work for them because I'm just not familiar. But I'm mostly familiar with Cenk and Anna. like Anna and Jenk, but I don't like anyone else. Interesting. I think I remember liking John Iadarola, I think his name is. I don't know if I said that right, but I can't really remember. I don't know specifics enough. What's your opinion on Jordan Peterson? The only thing I know about Jordan Peterson is when he was complaining about gender pronouns, and I think that complaint was ridiculous and insensitive. So after that, I kind of stopped taking him seriously and stopped watching and listening to him, so I don't know enough about him really. But yeah, the main thing is there's these insane straw men of people based on like either like I feel like it has to be intentional because it's so egregiously misrepresentative of what people say that I feel like it has to be an intentional misrepresentation. Unless we're dealing with people that just have very low comprehension skills. Because to look at something, or I won't even say that. I think that people are so deep in their own biases that they just assume a extremely uncharitable version of what someone is saying, even if it's obvious that that's not what they're saying. Like the recent clip about Bill Nye was talking. They were discussing. Putting people in jail that are spreading false information about climate change. And I got so many messages that are like, Bill Nye wants to jail people that he disagrees with. And it's like, that is such an egregious misrepresentation of what he said that it has to either be intentional or you just have to be really dense. You know? The reason he was complaining is because the government was going to force him to use preferred pronouns. No, they weren't. That's the problem. That's what I'm saying. He interpreted that they might do that in the future. And I think his interpretation of that was ridiculous because nowhere in the law did it said that he was going to have to do that. But the problem there is you should use people's preferred pronouns if you don't want to be an asshole. So even if you don't want to, you're still an asshole, and I still don't have much respect for you. But regardless, the government wasn't going to force me to use that, to use people's preferred pronouns. And I would oppose it if the government did try to make you do that, but they weren't. It didn't say that anywhere in the bill. He interpreted that way, and in my opinion, that was a ridiculous interpretation. Who's Kyle? Kyle Collins. Oh, Secular Talk. Okay. I actually just became aware of Secular Talk. I don't know that much about him. Kyle is obnoxious. Kyle follows me on Twitter, but I definitely enjoy his videos, even if I think he might be sipping too much of the Bernie juice. Yeah, I just recently subscribed to him. I'm not sure what I think about him yet. I don't care about using all the pronouns because there are so many and it's impossible to know prior, so I default to they and them. How often have you encountered people that use a pronoun other than he, she, or they? Like, does that really happen that often to you? I mean, maybe it does. I kind of doubt it does, though. Keep hearing from climate change deniers and zealots about how Bill Nye isn't really a scientist. My eyes are permanently rolling. Whenever someone does that, I just link them to the Wikipedia page for the ad hominem fallacy. I just don't even respond. I just copy paste that. Even online, how often does that happen? Like I still doubt that happens that often. Especially now. I mean, maybe if you're talking about like 6 years ago on Tumblr, maybe. But now, I can't even remember the last time I've seen anyone request anything other than he, she, or they. But that's just my experience, obviously. If you guys are wondering if you are unsure, just use they. That'll usually work. And if you're unsure about that, just use their name. Just say their name. Well, ContraPoints goes by he, she, and they. But I kind of feel like he does it just to make it easier for everyone else. I'm not sure which one he identifies with the most. He probably has one that he prefers, but he hasn't said, or at least I haven't seen him say which one. And I've said this in my video about pronouns, but when people use non-standard pronouns, I don't think that they are trying to say, this is my special pronoun just for me, because I'm special. I think what they're saying is, I want a gender-neutral pronoun because I don't like gendered pronouns. So this is my proposition for a gender-neutral pronoun. And many of the propositions for pronouns are ones that have been discussed for many years, and it's not just something they made up. But society changes, and it is rarely correct to resist cultural changes. It's futile. Even if you're not used to it, things change. That's just what happens. And you're just gonna have to get used to the changes. And I think that what I think is going to happen is that they is just going to become the standard. That seems to be the most likely. But you never know. You never know what happens. Like if you look up, because even before trans issues became so visible, there has always been a need for a gender-neutral pronoun in English. That's something that linguists, writers, people have been discussing this for years, and many propositions have been put forth. And some of the ones that are requested by trans people or non-binary people are the ones that have been proposed by the linguists and the writers from back in the day. But like I said, just use they. Just start with that, and we'll go from there. And I'm not saying it's impossible for someone to be unreasonable about the whole thing, about identity and what they prefer to be called. Like if someone says, I want you to address me as fucking, Lord, Queen, Mother, Mary, Josephine the Third, and I will not respond to anything else, then it's like you're being a little ridiculous. I honestly didn't watch Baring's video about that, and I have no intention to. Have no intention of watching any of Baring's videos, so I can't really speak on that. I think what we should be trying to do is just trying to be respectful. That's really all it is. This is the problem, and this is where I differ with a lot of people. I value being respectful more than I value being right. And I think that's where I differ with a lot of people. There's no reason to be an asshole, especially if it's not hurting anyone. Like, I also value being respectful more than I value being convenienced. So that's what I'm going to argue in favor of. Do the respectful thing. What are your views on bisexuality? I have seen other videos about how bisexuals tend to get flacked by both the straight community and the LGBT community. I don't know. It's my understanding of it. I don't know why people would be mad about it. I think that a lot of straight people don't believe in bisexuality, or at least they think that bisexuality, they basically think that you have to have a preference, which you can have a preference and still be bisexual. And I think that some people think that bisexuality implies that there's a gender binary, but I don't think it does. So I don't know. I mean, there are obviously, male gender roles and female gender roles, and then there's a spectrum of gender, but I think it's a spectrum that has sort of two ends, and I think that's why the bi descriptor is still legitimate. But I think that's a discussion that's best had by people in that community. So seems some fucked up shit about excluding asexuals from the LGBT community. See, I think that's also something that is best discussed by the people in that community. The thing about asexuals is that, there are no laws being made to discriminate against asexuals, and you can often just go through life without anyone ever knowing that you're an asexual. So it's hard to count yourself among the marginalized groups as when you're an asexual. And I think that's where a lot of people have a problem with it. But I don't know if that means that they need to be excluded. A lot of people seem to assume bi and poly are the same thing. Yeah, but even being polyamorous doesn't mean that you're gonna run off, polyamory does not imply being dishonest and unfaithful. In fact, it's like the opposite of that. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, a lot of people think, I guess they think, oh, if I date someone bi, that means I have twice as much competition or something like that. But as with any relationship, you can't be in a relationship with someone you don't trust them, and that's whether you're bi or straight. I know a lot of straight people who have those same fears. They think that anytime their significant other is talking to someone, that they're fucking them or something. So I think that's just insecurity and trust issues. What do you think of the response of egalitarianism in regards to feminism, anti-feminism? Well, the way I see it is egalitarianism is sort of the general belief in the equality of humans. But if you acknowledge that certain groups face certain issues, then you should probably also acknowledge that you need certain advocacy movements for each group. So egalitarianism in and of itself is not sufficient to tackle the problems everybody faces. So if women have specific problems, then a group for women should probably exist. If LGBT people have specific problems, then a group for LGBT people should probably exist. If ethnic minorities have specific problems, then a group for ethnic minorities should probably exist. So egalitarianism doesn't cover everything. Egalitarianism is fine, it just doesn't cover everything. It can't take care of everything by itself. Yeah, I don't know if I think that ace people should be excluded, but I kind of understand where the other side's coming from. But I just don't feel like my opinion matters in that conversation. It's something that the people in that group has to sort of figure out. Okay, so someone I know has been mean and bullied me over the past 3 years, and I have started stealing his cash, and he doesn't know about it, and I can't help but feel bad when I do it. Yeah, you should feel bad. Don't steal money from people. 2 wrongs don't make a right, my friend. Sometimes you just have to be the bigger person. It sucks. It feels unjust, but I think it's the moral thing to do. It's the noble thing to do. Polysexual, not polyamorous. I don't think I know what polysexual is. Is polysexual different from pansexual? Most communities, especially progressive communities, are rife with infighting. I think it's just because progressives are very passionate, very convicted people. Or convicted? I don't think that's the word. Just very people with strong convictions. feminists don't disagree with each other, they're just a hive mind, right? Some people definitely seem to think so. So I'm probably going to just stream for just a few more minutes, maybe like 30 more minutes. Time kind of flew by. I still feel like I just started, but it's been like 2 hours. What do you guys think? Should I want to do streams often, but I don't want to do them too often. And I was thinking maybe once a week or like once every other week. Maybe even once a month. Do you think lack of leadership in feminism movement is a problem, and why it makes feminism seem a contradicted movement to the right? I don't know. The thing about it is, I don't know, like what would qualify someone to be a leader, and what makes a leader a leader. I think there are several people who can be considered like respected speakers and, you know, experts to some extent, but I don't know if you can even have leaders. But the thing about it is, you're kind of, people who look at it that way are looking at it the wrong way. Like, I don't know. Like, if you think about like a sport, like think about like a basketball league. Every team in the league, I mean, maybe this isn't a good example because the teams are playing against each other. But basically, every team in the league wants to figure out the best way to play basketball. Like, that's fair, right? Everyone is trying to find the winning strategy. But every team uses different strategies. But no one says, oh, the NBA is contradictory because everyone isn't playing exactly the same way. And how can I take this sport seriously because everyone is playing differently? No one says that because they understand that there's a common goal. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to find the best answer. That's the way you should look at it. Will you ever use your channel to promote Smash Brothers? Probably one. Probably not, to be honest. A lot of people don't know, but I actually have a gaming channel. It's kind of dead right now, but I'm planning to resurrect it soon. I'll let you guys know about that when I do that. Start out once a month, but I think once a week might become burnout level. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to do once or twice a month. Once a month seems like too infrequently, but we'll see. Who's my favorite NBA player? Right now, probably Steph Curry. Of all time, is Kobe Bryant. How should feminism deal with the extremes in their movement? Well, it kind of depends. Because there's some level of extreme that it's just not their problem. But if there's extreme views that become mainstream, I think it's probably the responsibility of the people in the movement to disavow that idea and to separate themselves from it. Because I think this happens with a lot of groups where people sort of give a pass to an extreme view by not criticizing it, because they kind of agree with you, so you like assume that they're on your team, but then they go and do something crazy, and then you're quiet about it. I think that's a problem, it's not just a feminism thing; it's any group. So I think it's a responsibility for you to distance yourself from things like that. Very controversial topic, but Scottie Pippen is a better overall player. Michael Jordan, best offensive player, but not as diverse as Pippen. Well, I definitely disagree with that. I don't know what else to say. Scottie Pippen is a beast, though. Michael Jordan is just, he's amazing all-around player, not just offensive. That was part of what made Michael Jordan so good. Was his amazing defensive player, great rebounder. It's just I think Michael Jordan is still easily the best player of all time. You ever want to be wrong, like if it was a better, happier thing? Sure. There's a lot of depressing truths about the world that I wish I was wrong about. Like, I believe that nothing happens after death, and that's really depressing to me. And I kind of hope I'm wrong about that, but I don't think I am. Could be, though. I don't disagree that Jordan's the best player, just that Pippen was more diverse and better well-rounded. Maybe in some ways, but it's hard to say. Being well-rounded is cool, but it's not what makes you an effective basketball player. It makes you useful in some ways, but when you're just amazing at your role, I don't even know if I'd agree that he's more well-rounded. Maybe he is. Because Pippen could play guard and forward and center, but Michael Jordan kind of could too. That's the thing. But it's the sort of thing Shaq is one of the best centers of all time, but he's not well-rounded. And I don't think that takes away anything from him. I think he was good at his role, and he was way better at it than most other people. But I don't really watch NBA that much anymore these days. I just sort of catch it. But Steph Curry is just really fun to watch. He's he's just a really amazing offensive player. And he seems like a really cool guy too. So something like the afterlife that I don't believe in isn't much comfort to me. Well, the afterlife, as told by many religions, is pretty stressful. But just to me, the concept of ceasing to exist is just really creepy, and I don't like it. I mean, LeBron is amazing. I'm not doubting that. LeBron is probably top 5 all time. Maybe top 3 all time. Are you leaving for real, Brandon? If so, thanks for stopping by. I mean, you probably know more about sports, about NBA than I do, so your opinion probably holds more weight. I used to watch. I was a really big fan back in the day, like back maybe like almost 20 years ago, maybe. That's when I was really into it. Like when Kobe first came, like nearing the end of Jordan's career, and then going on through like maybe like 2000, and then I just kind of stopped after that and just sort of watched the playoffs here and there and read the news. Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, probably. In terms of trios, wasn't it like old school, like Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and what's his name? That was pretty good. Can we do a collaboration? Do you have an idea for a collaboration? Do you have a channel? What's your channel about? Wasn't Michael Jordan indispensable in the defeat of the Munstars? The Munstars. You're not wrong about that. I don't think they could have won without him, because he had to stretch his arm to do the final dunk. What do I think about Antifa? I think that violence and riots is almost always inefficient, an inefficient way to solve any problems. The issue is if Antifa actually believes that death is certain as a result of the spread of fascism and white supremacy and stuff like that, then they could make an argument for self-defense. Problem is, I don't know if that is, if the premise is useful, if the premise is valid. So I don't know. It's hard to say. It's something that I should think about. Are you ever scared of taking medication now that Trump could cut it off? Yeah. I recently started taking medication for anxiety, but I haven't been officially diagnosed with an anxiety disorder yet. I actually have to go back to the doctor and see what they say, but if I do get diagnosed, that will mean that I have a pre-existing condition, which, if Trump had his way, that would make it really hard for me to get health care. What do you prefer, Bloods or Crips? That's hilarious. I don't think I can answer that question. Brandon, alright, thanks for coming to the stream. Thanks for the comment. I see your comments on my videos a lot. I think you've always got something interesting to say. I think argued with you a couple times in the comments before, but it's all love. Thanks for stopping by. Am I up for running another Smash tournament out of a bar? I'd love to do that. I should talk to. I think that bar we had that other one at was is still open. Should go back over there. Maybe I don't even know if it is still open, but I don't know. I know a lot of people who run bars, so maybe I could hook something up. Your thoughts of pineapple on pizza? It's not my favorite. I kind of joke around and say that it's bad to put pineapple on pizza, but I will eat it. If you give it to me, I'll eat it, and I'll like it. They call normal people fascists to justify violence. I don't think they call normal people fascists. It may be the case that they call people who aren't actually fascists, but I don't think that these are just like normal innocent people. Like, I don't think Milo Yiannopoulos is a fascist, but he's not an innocent normal person either. He's definitely a heinous asshole who doesn't deserve respect. But I don't think that what he does warrants violence, as I don't think that most things warrant violence. How close do you think we might be to the impeachment of Trump? It's hard to imagine that the Republicans will ever impeach Trump. So if the Democrats win a lot of seats in 2018 or next year, I should say, I think it's super likely that they'll impeach him. I mean, they may not immediately impeach him, but once he inevitably does something fucked up again, which it just seems like he's going to continue to do, I think that they'll immediately impeach him. The issue here is you saying they call normal people fascists is it's just as meaningless as them calling people fascists. Like, neither of those are arguments. If you want, have a conversation with Antifa and try to understand why they're calling someone a fascist. Maybe they'll make a compelling argument for that. But either way, it's neither of those things means anything at the end of the day. It can't be assumed as truth that they're calling non-fascists fascists. Maybe the people they call fascists are fascists. The word fascist is really hard to even describe these days because people use it in situations. And then when you go on to predict their motives, that they're doing it to justify violence, that's when it gets even more messy. That's when it becomes even more meaningless. When you're predicting someone's motive, that's especially when arguments become messy. What are your thoughts on online dating on Tinder? I think online dating is fine. I don't really have no problem with it. I don't think the meaning of fascist is clear. Just like the meaning of liberal isn't clear, the meaning of socialist isn't clear. there's there's obviously a general idea of what it means, but I don't think it's clear. I think it's disingenuous to say that it's clear. Where would you like to take a trip to relax? I don't know. Maybe like a beach somewhere. Usually when I take a trip somewhere, it's to party and not to relax. I don't even know where I would go to just relax. Alright, I'm gonna go for about 15 more minutes, guys. Got any quick questions to finish it up? We can go ahead and do that. See, like, it's not clear. People think like my interpretation of something is the only true interpretation. That's just not the way that you need to think about anything, especially when you're talking about ideas, like people's ideas. How did I find out about ContraPoints? Someone sent me a message on Tumblr that was like, have you ever, like, it was something like, because I think that's when I first started like interacting with anti-feminists and stuff, and I really didn't understand that there were anti-feminists. I didn't know that was a thing. And then some people were like, have you ever checked out some of these other people like ContraPoints and H Bomber Guy and Garrett? And I was like, oh shit, real? Academic is one context. It's not the only context in which to talk about stuff. That's what I'm saying. People want to like say like this interpretation is the only correct interpretation. It's like, no, that's not how it works. There's different contexts in which you can talk about stuff. That's what people do when they say that black people can't be racist, because they're using a sociological context of racism. But that's not the only context. Racism seems like a very clear word, but it's not. It depends on the context. If you're talking about a sociological, academic context, it may mean one thing. If you're talking about a colloquial layman's context, it might mean something else. If you're talking about politics or psychology, it might mean something else. So, that's not how you should think about anything. I don't think that if there's a correct one, it would be the academic one. It's just one of many. Courtney Haynes, thanks for the super chat. Okay. Am I back? Sorry, it disconnected for a second. Well, I don't know. Anyway. I think that even once you agree on a definition, then you have to decide whether or not what you're talking about fits that definition. And that's even that can be subjective. Because I think you can make a lot of arguments for the fact that Trump, for example, is doing things that are authoritative in nature. But a lot of people may disagree with that. It's just not as clear as you're making it out to be. Oh, did you not hear my whole thanks? Thank you, Courtney, for the super chat. Keep up the good work. I will do my best. Thank you very much. Authoritative is definitely a different word, and authoritative is not the only aspect of fascism either. I'm just saying, I was just sort of responding to something that was said in the chat. What does right wing mean? Well, like most of these other things, it's complicated. It refers to a lot of things. Right wing people can be anything from authoritarian people to pure libertarians. I wouldn't call Trump a fascist either, but I'm just saying you can make an argument for certain aspects of whatever you think fascism is to be applied to Trump. I think you could probably make a compelling argument, and I think that claiming that your interpretation of these terms is the correct one, or that one is the only correct one, is a mistake. And that's just, I don't think that's how we should think about any of this stuff. But I mean, I think Antifa has referred to people as fascists that I wouldn't call fascists. But I'd like to hear their argument. I'd like to hear why they do that. Why they think that certain people are fascists. But I'm not going to write them off and just assume that they're like trying to justify the use of violence just because they want to blow stuff up for some reason. They're trigger happy and they're just making excuses. Like, that's when it just gets messy, when you start doing stuff like that. I've been on for about 2 hours. I'm actually probably leaving in about 10 minutes. 1 p.m.-ish or something like that. Yeah, late night is good for West Coasters. I have to keep that in mind too. Maybe 1 p.m. is too early. Best beer? I honestly am not the person to ask about beer. I just drink cheap stuff. I usually order Yingling when I get beer. I think weekly is probably too much, but we'll see. If I get a lot of good feedback and people wanting me to do it, then maybe I will. But and I might get burnt out myself. Right now, what I'm thinking is twice a month. I think that's a good medium. But I don't know. Even that might be too much. I'll try twice a month. Avondale versus Good People, definitely Avondale. I'm not a big fan of Good People. What do I normally drink when I go to a bar? Usually whiskey diet. Make it bi-daily, 6 times a day. Whew. Then I would be like a Twitch streamer. If it was as lucrative as it was streaming on Twitch, I would do it. I would do it every day. But I don't really expect to make. I don't expect a whole bunch of super chats every time. I think this is actually the most super chats I've made. Actually, back in the day before super chat, I've gotten a donation. Gotten a bunch of donations. Like, speaking of, my birthday is in a couple weeks. I may do like a little pre-birthday stream or something like that, so you guys can hang out with me on my birthday. Do you have any advice to adult in life? That's a very broad question. there's a lot of adulting to do. You have any specific question? Advice to adult, don't. I think being an adult is underrated. How do you raise a kid? I have no idea. That is not a thing I have any experience with. Alright guys, about 5 minutes. Should have a video coming out on Friday. That's the goal, at least. For those that don't know, I try to put out a video every Friday. That's like my goal right now. I used to try to do 2 videos a week, but I just felt like it was sort of like a little bit hard to keep up with, and I think it was affecting the quality of the video. So I'm just doing 1 a week for now. Should gender studies courses be eligible for student loans? I think college should be free, so. How to quit smoking? Well, I don't have much experience with quitting smoking, but from what I understand, the most effective way is just to do it cold turkey and just suffer through it as long as you can, and then eventually the cravings start to get lower and lower. But it's really hard to do that. But from what I understand, it's the most effective. Have you ever made a video on my YouTube setup? I don't think so. I guess I could do that. I might do that on my second channel. If you go to T1J.com/good stuff, I have a list of all the equipment that I use, like literally all the equipment I use. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. But I may actually make a video where I actually show you this stuff. Have you ever been to Mexico? I have not. And sure, I'd like to go. Best quick pickup artist advice. Well, don't think of yourself as a pickup artist, but for building attraction, just don't be creepy. Don't come on too strong. Respect personal space. Look and smell nice. And be funny. Be humorous. Be flirty. Don't be too friendly. Be flirty, but also don't be creepy. No problem, Martin. A gender studies class is a waste of time. No, nothing's a waste of time. You can take a class on how to speak Klingonian. Is that a waste of time? It doesn't. Whatever you want to study is whatever you want to study. Who cares? Have you seen the hate Philly Diaz got for DeFranco? I didn't see the hate. I didn't know he was getting any hate. I support his Patreon. I think it's cool. I think he probably has among the biggest Patreons now. I mean, he hides how much money he's making, but he has so many patrons, like more than most people, like more than I think than almost anybody. He's probably like top 5. Anyway, I'm gonna go now, guys. Thank you for coming to my stream as always. I will figure out when I'm gonna do it. The thing about doing it bi-monthly is that it's hard to plan it out, because if I just say I'm gonna stream every Monday, then people will remember, okay, Monday's a stream. But if I say I'm gonna stream every second Monday. That's gonna be hard for people to keep up. So I have to figure that out. But I'll figure that out. Right now I'm thinking bi-monthly, like twice a month. Anyway, all my social media is in the description of this video. I should have a regular video on Friday. Look out for that. I think I'm going to make this video public. This live stream public if you want to just come back and skim through it in the future. I think I'm going to do that. And I guess that's it. Feel free to email me or tweet me if you want to ask me anything. That'd be cool. See ya. Bye. Bye.